The butterfly effect is the sensitive dependence on initial conditions in which a small change in one instance can lead to far greater changes in later instances. We examine the results of the butterfly effect in science, history, art, innovation, and all walks of life. But what about seeing the butterfly effect in sports? Short Sports and View from the U Productions bring you What If?
When you sit down and think about the most popular sports on this campus, it shouldn't take long until you reach the Utah Red Rocks on that list. The Red Rocks program is the only one across the nation to qualify for all 25 NCAA championships, and they are consistently revered as one of the best programs in the nation. Gymnastics at the University of Utah can't miss entertainment whenever they are in town to host meets, and people seldom do. This is a program that averages well over 12,000 people in the stands to watch them perform, and they often leave the arena floor to a standing ovation. Over the course of this past season, they won another attendance record for NCAA women's sports with 3 sellouts and 4 home meets and an average attendance of 15,558 adoring fans. The Red Rocks are the only program to qualify for all 25 NCAA championships, and they are consistently revered as one of the best programs in the nation. With that being said, their 2020 season was like any other that we had seen until it was unfortunately cut short due to the cancellation of spring sports across the NCAA due to the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic.
The Red Rocks made a historic run in the 2019 season, going undefeated in the first 10 meets. Most notably, the Utes had beaten their opponents by 2 to 3 point margins at the beginning of the season. In the later half of the season, the Utes were challenged with 4 straight ranked opponents of Cal, Oregon State, UCLA, and Washington. All 4 teams were rightfully challenged by the Red Rocks, but Utah came out on top by less than 1 point in each meet. The most notable win was arguably against third-ranked UCLA. These 2 teams were so close in talent that they were tied for 3rd best in the country heading into the meet. It was a back-and-forth showdown, but Utah came out on top by half a point in Pauley Pavilion. Utah's beam team proved what they were capable of this whole season, and their stellar performance on beam especially showed when it mattered the most. Utah's beam score of 49.775 not only set a school record, but it was the highest beam score in the NCAA this season. The impressive performance is credited to 4 Utes that scored a 9.95 or higher, specifically Abby Paulson, who scored a perfect 10, the first flawless beam score for the Utes since 2008. The tight win against UCLA wasn't the only half-point victory Utah clinched this season. In their last meet, Utah edged out the Stanford Cardinal at the Huntsman Center. It was a sellout crowd of over 15,000 fans cheering on the Utes. This meet wasn't the last of perfect scores, as senior Kim Tesson had a perfect 10 on the vault, which massively contributed to the overall vault score of 49.525. Little did Utah know the raucous energy from fans and the excitement rush from the Red Rocks would be the last time they would perform in 2020. But what would have happened if the COVID-19 pandemic didn't put the gymnastics world at a screeching halt? How would the rest of the season play out against their last opponent, Utah State, and securing a spot in the national championship as the 4th-ranked team in the country?
The butterfly effect is the sensitive dependence on initial conditions in which a small change in one instance can lead to far greater changes in later instances. Dependence on initial conditions
Turn back the
small
clock.
change in one instance. The butterfly effect is
Go back far
can lead to far greater sensitive dependence on initial conditions in which a small change in one instance. The butterfly effect is far small change.
Enter another reality.
The Red Rocks carry their momentum from the Stanford win to their last meet with the Aggies. Utah State's 2 seniors, Brittany Jefferson and Allie Gollison, had outstanding performances in all 4 events, but Utah's depth is too talented to lose their last regular meet. Utah shines, as usual, in the beam and vault, and are especially exceptional in the bar and floor routines. Kim Tesson scored a 9.95 on vault, nearly repeating her perfect 10 against Stanford. Crystal Issa shines in the bars with a score of 9.75. Miley O'Keefe scores a 9.95 and is almost a replica of her perfect beam score against the Cardinal. Every team member gives it their all on the floor, with the lowest score only being a 9.90. The final tally ends in Utah's favor, 198.175 to 196.275. With the win, the Red Rocks go 12-0 on the season, their first undefeated season since 1993. The stage is now set for the national championship. The Red Rocks sneak their way into the Final Four and are up against Oklahoma, Florida, and Pac-12 rival UCLA.
The stage is set. The Red Rocks find themselves tied for third with UCLA in the national rankings as they enter the competition. They will compete against a plethora of talent as they face number 1 Oklahoma, who has won 3 of the last 4 national championships, number 2 Florida, who won it back in 2015, and their ranking partner UCLA, who won the 2018 national championship. As the rotation order is released, Utah draws the 4th spot, preceded by UCLA, Florida, and Oklahoma. The Red Rocks watch as Oklahoma superstar Maggie Nichols stuns the crowd with a near-perfect performance on the vault. They know they'll have to be perfect to beat her, along with the rest of the Sooners. Florida's Trinity Thomas is as good as ever on the bars, and UCLA's Kyla Ross puts on a strong performance on the beam. But the Utes came to collect hardware, and Sydney Solosky starts Utah off well with a 9.975 score on the floor. As the Red Rocks move to the vault, Kim Tessin comes up big as she posts a score of 9.975 as well. In the third rotation, Crystal Issa scores a 9.95 on the bars, which places Utah in second place behind the reigning champion, Oklahoma Sooners. The last to go for the Sooners is, of course, Maggie Nichols, who is expected to finish things off and carry the Sooners off into the sunset as back-to-back champions. But disaster strikes. Nichols falls to the floor, which merits a 0.5 deduction, and as her score comes in, it's a 9.8. The door is open for Utah, but they'll need a 10. Lucky for the Red Rocks, Abby Polson is on beam, where earlier in the season she already scored a perfect 10. Abby locks in, performing handsprings, turns, and split jumps flawlessly. As she dismounts, she sticks the landing. She's done it. Another 10, which gives Utah an accumulative score of 198.075. Utah wins the 2020 NCAA Gymnastics National Championship.
The reaction is instant. The rest of the team swarms Paulson on the mat, and the crowd can't believe what it had just witnessed. The Utes had done it again. They had once again found themselves at the top of the pile, looking down on the rest of college gymnastics. Many of them had been there before, and some of them were already thinking about next year and the chance to repeat the climb to the top.
The University of Utah, like every other college around the country, was robbed of its chance to see its spotlight programs compete on the national stage and fight its way through national championship brackets. Had it not been for gross mishandling of COVID-19 protocols by some of our nation's top leaders, we might be making more recap episodes instead of these alternate reality exposés because, well, we'd have live sports to talk about. So please, for the sake of the athletes and for those who enjoy telling their stories, wear your mask and stay safe.